They were doing the Passion Play and had done it for years and years. This was the third showing this particular year. Were over 1,200 people there to view it. Everything was going extremely well. Jesus was in the garden praying, and the soldiers were approaching him. The first soldier, who walked out on the stage, tripped and fell flat on his face. But as he was falling, he threw the sword he was carrying away from him. But he threw it in the direction of Jesus, who did not see it coming because his eyes were closed in prayer. The sword went right through Jesus' thigh, to which he replied, and immediately they closed the curtain, for you realize this is no longer an accurate account of the Passion Week of Christ. Well, backstage, they're trying to figure out what to do. Immediately, they took the guy to the hospital. They did not pull the sword out for fear of what that would do. But backstage, they're thinking, should we dismiss the people? One of the guys who had been with the stage crew for a number of years said, no, I know the lines. If you dress me up, I believe I can finish the production. So they told the congregation what they were going to attempt to do. And within 20 minutes, they had the curtains opened again with a new stand-in Jesus. Jesus was in the garden praying. Soldiers were approaching him. The first soldier was not carrying the sword. By this time, his was at the hospital. Jesus knew every line. Jesus knew every position. He did a masterful job pulling off this production. And everything went extremely well until it came time for the ascension. And that's when Jesus was lifted up off the platform above the curtains to depict his ascension into the clouds. Everything had been carefully weighed and balanced with ropes, sandbags, and pulleys. But no one had considered the weight difference between the Jesus who's at the hospital and the Jesus who's now on stage. All Jesus had to do was lift up off the platform, and the weight would be transferred to the sandbag, and slowly he'd be lifted up. So when Jesus gave his final instructions to his disciples, he lifted up off the platform, and sure enough, he went up. He went up about 3.5 to 4 feet and stopped in midair. And Jesus was just hanging there. Everybody in the crowd was just watching him. And then slowly he came back down. And when he came back down, his feet touched the platform. And I will say this regarding the guy. He was a man who could think on his feet. For when his feet touched the platform, he said, one more thing before I leave, fellas. All the while he's trying to think, how am I going to get out of this? Well, he came to the conclusion that what he needed to do was back up and take a running start and jump. Or if he could jump high enough, maybe he could get over the threshold of that which had held him down. So he repeated his instructions to his disciples again. He backed up, he ran forward, and he leaped into the air. But backstage, they had figured out another solution. And when he jumped in the air, they pulled on the rope. And in a moment, in a twinkling of an eye, he shot out of there. He went up so fast, so hard, he hit his head on the pulley at the top. You can hear the rigging and rafters shake throughout the building. But the last thing that can be remembered by those watching the production that day, 2 sandals came falling from the sky and landed on the platform. Embarrassing moments for the production crew. You know, it's been a wonderful week. I've enjoyed being with